Hey, my name is Michaela, and today you learn Padmasana, transforming Lotus posing into Lotus exercising with anatomical awareness, hips and knees, and Ujjayi breathing. Did you know that not everyone is able to do Lotus pose due to physical bone structure? You have your femur and the neck of your femur, you have your pelvis, your socket hip, also called acetabulum, and the ball socket structure of your hip is completely different from person to person. So for one it's more forward, from the other one is more on the side. And so for some people, Lotus pose is such an easy pose, you don't have to practice at all. And for some people, it's not possible due to bone structure. But as a fun fact, if you're not able to Lotus pose, you're very likely that the eagle pose, inner rotation of your hip, is easily accessible for you. My personal story is that I do know Lotus pose since I'm a child because my mother was able to do it without any practice. And so my brother and me learned from her, and we even invented Lotus walking on our knees and Lotus swimming. So if you're interested in seeing this, just email me or come to one of my trainings. And this video is therefore for people who do kind of know the Lotus pose and are able to do it, but have no clue about the proper alignment and the proper practice, like I didn't know a few years ago. So let's start with the hip joint. You need a lot of mobility in it to do Lotus pose properly. First you have the hip flexion, but if you're able to sit down in a chair easily, then it's not an issue for you. You need a little bit of abduction of your inner thigh, and most importantly, you need a good hip external rotation to do the Lotus pose safe. And so this brings us to our first assignment and our first exercise for this video, the double pigeon pose. So sit down with me and come into a triangle position of your leg like this, and chin is parallel, and on this triangle, chin on chin, kissing each other, you fold forward. And now you stretch your lateral hip rotator muscles. And you can even feel the piriformis, one of the 6 deep muscles underneath the other muscles. And you also strengthen your gluteus maximus, minimus, and gluteus medius. So your whole buttock is involved in the Lotus pose, and you need to engage it in order to do Lotus pose safe. Because if not, this might cause your femur to excessively rotate inwards due to the tightness, and then the knee gets more pressure, and this may cause some injury, especially the MCL, the medial collateral ligament, and also the medial meniscus. And they have then a lot of pressure inside if your hip rotation and the openness of your hips is not in a good shape. So let's switch sides and fold forward again. Remember to breathe 4 in and 8 out, like I explained in the last breathing video. So inhale 1, 2, 3, 4, and exhale 8, 7, 6, 4, 5, 3, 2, 1. You can do this for 2 to 5 minutes depending on how you feel. Always listen to your body. And then you can come up and start the second assignment, the second exercise for Lotus pose, which is stabilizing your knee. And for this we stand up again into the chair pose, and you start with your hip first in order to actually stabilize your knee because of the first joint rule. So hip moving back, ta-da, and then you inhale, come all the way up, and now you can actually feel how you stabilize your knee and everything is engaged around your patella. And this exercise is also great for your gluteus muscles, which you also need in the Lotus pose, like I just explained, and also to engage your quadriceps, because you need especially the rectus femoris in the Lotus pose in order to stabilize your knee when you in the Lotus pose. All right. So after these 2 assignments for you, we warm up for the lotus pose. And with warm up, we circle our ankles, we circle our knee, and we circle our hip joint. So there's blood flow in the joints, and the surrounded muscles are getting a nice warm up. And with this exercise also, you already engage the lateral hip muscles that you need for the lotus pose. You can also switch sides. Doing it at home, you can do it even longer and also having some fun with it. All right, when you come out of the lotus pose, you can always do a counter pose or a counter position, like the upward plank position, like this, because in this position you actually have hip extension and knee extension. Because the lotus pose, you have hip flexion, knee flexion, and even ankle flexion. So coming into the lotus pose, you first flex your knee. It's an extreme flexion of your knee, and then you externally rotate it and putting your heel close to your navel, so touching the abdomen, and then putting it safely in here. And then again you flex your knee first. You can even hang out here a little bit. And then you externally rotate on this, and then you put your feet upward. Use as less hand involvement as possible, so you actually use your muscles and the upper legs, and you don't force yourself into the pose, causing this injury I just explained. And then, knowing your 2 assignments, you can now have a little tip. So you can rotate outward your tibia and rotate outward your femur in order to create some space in this medial knee area to protect and to secure you in this position. So engage your quadriceps and engage your gluteus muscle and dorsiflex your feet. It's a dorsiflexion in your feet. Everything is engaged, knees are on your ground. If not, you can use blankets or something to support you, and engage your abdominal muscles. Put your navel in towards your spine. Create an upward position of your spine, so there's space between each vertebra. And now you can even do the Ujjayi breath, like I taught you in the last video, to help you engage everything. So you avoid tilting, engage everything, and don't just pose the lotus pose, but actually mindful exercise the lotus pose in the Ujjayi, breathing with a slight contraction on your glottis and total awareness for the rest of the muscles. And we inhale for 1, 2, 3, 4, and exhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. So the takeaways is not everyone is capable of doing the lotus pose due to bone structure. Using double pigeon pose or chair pose to get ready for the pose. Always do a warm-up for getting into lotus pose. And last but not least, use Ujjayi breathing. So this is a mindful practice and not just posing it for the sake of it. And keep always aware of your alignment. So thank you for watching, and namaste.